welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy video. I'm in what is for me quite a special location in English sparkling wine terms. I'm close to the top of Ditchling Beacon on the South Downs in Sussex, southern England. This is a cluster of some of my absolute favourite vineyards near the village of Ditchling, not too far from Hassocks, which is on the train line, all very accessible from London, just over an hour or so south of London on the train. We have Plumpton College, who are very important in the education of winemakers in England. They have a vineyard here that some of their winemakers in training, some of their viticulturists in training practice in. We have Black Dog Hill just over there. They have two sites here. The one that I'm most interested in today is Everflyht. Just out at the bottom of the hill there, not far from where I'm standing, is Everflyht, a relatively new vineyard established in 2016. I think their first vintages were possibly 2019. And there's a small cluster of buildings off to the side of the vineyard there that I'm not sure they possibly have a winery as well. I could be wrong about that. It's a spectacular spot. I mean, sometimes when people ask me why I think English sparkling wine is particularly interesting, is that I can really connect with this terroir. Spectacular walk on a wonderful sunny day like today, sit above one of these vineyards looking down over that terroir and be drinking the wine that was made there. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I've lugged up the hill an ice bucket and a bottle of, that's probably in silhouette, isn't it? A bottle of Everflyht's Rosé de Saignée 2019. Shall we open it up and see what it's like? Quick note about what Rosé de Saignée means. It literally means bled. Saignée is the French word for bled. There are two main ways to make a rosé, particularly when it comes to sparkling wine, traditional method sparkling wine. I believe the standard method is called assemblage, where mostly you make a white wine, a still white wine, you make a small amount of a still red wine, and then you blend them together and then do the secondary fermentation. A useful thing to remember is that Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier, two of the main traditional champagne grapes that are often used for English sparkling as well, although they have red or black skins, the flesh is actually white. So if you don't allow them much skin contact, if you remove those skins very early on in the process, don't allow much maceration, then you can actually get a white grape juice out of them. And that's where we get Blanc de Noir from, a white wine made from black grapes or red grapes. The Rosé de Saignée process is really in a way closer to making a red wine. Relatively early on in the process you have your kind of big mess of grape juice, of grape skins, of the seeds, possibly bits of stem if the grapes haven't been destemmed first. And then for perhaps up to about 2 days the maceration is allowed to happen so that the grape juice takes on a bit of the colour from the skin, and then at that point they remove all the rest of the must, just take the juice. So you get a sort of partially macerated, partially coloured version of the juice from those Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier grapes. I think this is Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. So that means you also get a bit of tannin and a bit of those other sort of flavour compound influences from the grape skins. So I think it makes for a much more gutsy, much more interesting rosé wine. Anyway, enough babbling. I'm thirsty. It is a hot day. I think it is time to open this up. Not too bad. Apologies, as always, for the stemware. It's plastic. It's very hard transporting a glass. The lighting is perhaps unusual here, but hopefully you can get a bit of a sense that by rosé standards there's a relatively dark, deep, sort of bronzy perhaps colour for a rosé, and that is the first clue that we've got something here that's had a bit more skin contact and has probably a bit more depth of flavour to it and a bit more guts generally. So what do we have on the nose here? So there is a lot of Pinot Noir type character in there, and I'm almost reminded of some hints of some of those relatively young English Pinot Noirs. There is definitely some red berry fruit presence there, something a bit like cherry, possibly something like cranberry. Other red berry fruits, there might be a little bit of strawberry and or raspberry in there. And again, almost red wine like notes on the palate. But it is still obviously a bit lighter. It's refreshing. It's got that zing of a good sparkling wine. It has the fizz as well, of course, of a sparkling wine. Quite a lot of sort of mineral content there as well. The fizz there is quite gentle. It almost reminds me of one of those sparkling waters that come from a naturally sparkling source rather than something that's had CO2 injected into it. It's not actually incredibly fizzy. I don't know if that's how it's meant to be. I can't remember it being like that last time. But similarly, like that sparkling water that is naturally carbonated, there's a lot of minerality there. There is a bit of a hint of tannin to this wine, which is really interesting. Certainly not overpowering. It's very much in balance with the other aspects of the wine. The overall style of it is gutsy compared to a regular rosé wine, and I really like that about it. There's a bit more depth of fruit. The sort of Pinot fruit characters you'd normally get in an English sparkling wine are more perhaps hedgerow fruits and very gentle hints of berry fruit. So to find something like cherry and cranberry, that's something I would find more common in a still Pinot Noir wine rather than a sparkling one from England. Finally, I would say it's pretty low on the dosage, I think. So overall, quite a dry style of wine. If you have any concerns that rosé is going to mean something cloying and sweet, then this is absolutely not the case here. Cheers.